Hello everyone, it's me Arden Lee. I'm back today with another video, and today I want to talk about the follies that people will follow down in order to continue maintaining their illusion of being right even when they're not. And I've titled this video, I love being right so much that I am willing to be wrong. So let me share with you this reframe that has really been helpful to me to further anchor in a growth mindset and to see where learning something new and being proven wrong actually is sometimes in my favor, and to get used to that as being a not something that threatens my ego, but rather something that that I find helpful to my personal growth. So before I get into that topic, of course, if you're not already familiar with me and my work, my name is Arden Lee. I'm the creator of the Repatterning Project, which is an 8-week course online, along with an online community that I have developed in order to help people examine and redirect their patterns and hack their beliefs and their thoughts in order to step into their empowerment, to start creating their own realities in their lives from that place of sovereignty, from that place of creative freedom, in order to optimize our lives for happiness and success. So if you're interested in that, go check out the description box, because I do have a link to a free PDF about the Repatterning Project, and I also have a link to a free community on Facebook called the Repatterning Parlor, where we all gather to hang out and exchange our ideas about things like that. And I moderate that group, so if you join, do come say hi to me. I'd love to hear from you and tell me how these videos are hitting you. So let me know what's working for you. So today I want to talk about how much I love being right. There's very little that is more satisfying to me than that dopamine hit that I get when I really put two and two together and I form an idea that really hits me in the right way, that I feel like, yes, this is right, this is true. I've talked in some of my other videos this week about having a pattern finding brain, a brain that is prone to seeking patterns and things, and that definitely sounds like me. When I was a kid, I got hours and hours and hours of entertainment from doing matrix logic puzzles, those little grid puzzles where you mark the dots and the X's, and it's like, Sally went to the store at 3 o'clock and Harry went to, the baseball field at 5 o'clock, and you have to figure out when they all went there. So so in a weird way, it was like training me for the work that I do now. When I was like 7 years old, filling out all these puzzles and being like, oh, if I look at these thin slices of information, can I find the larger pattern and fill everything in on the grid in a way that fills up all the information, and then that feels extremely rewarding to me. I guess that's kind of funny, because that's so much of the work that I do now. So I love feeling that, like, yes, I figured it out, I've gotten it, this is right. And when I notice something is wrong, if I'm doing a puzzle like that, it doesn't really attack my ego so much. I may be kind of mildly annoyed by the fact that, I got something wrong, but because I want to complete the puzzle, I go in and I erase it and I fill it in with the correct information, right? Well, why are we so resistant to that in real life when it comes to our opinions and ideas, right? Something that I've noticed a lot is, there's a lot of people, I was going to say, like, there's a lot of people online who don't like me. That's true of everyone. And that's especially true of anyone who is putting out a message that people may or may not agree with and whatever. So, no big deal or whatever. I don't want to make this video all about like, oh, I have haters or whatever, But one of the things that I've noticed is that, when someone is doing something problematic, I have no problem with either calling it out or questioning it. If I do so on their own posts or on their own page, I really try my best to be constructive and respectful and clear. For example, someone might be speaking of a place of their, ignorance of their white privilege, for example, and I like to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just operating from a place of ignorance and that, they just need a little more education. So I try not to attack people. Certainly in the past when I was when my trauma triggers were more present before I went on this healing journey. That was something that I really struggled with. And I'm feeling better about settling into more compassion, more and more now as I continue to go. So I try not to be a jerk. I try to call someone in rather than call someone out. But oftentimes there's a thing that I do where I'll take just the problem or the phenomenon that's being spoken about, and I'll make my own post about it or my own video about it, because I would rather make content that everyone can relate to, that explains what the problem is, so that I end up, educating more people without calling out a specific person and creating conflict. And also that serves me better as well, because then it's like, hey, I took this, fire under my ass that I was feeling from watching someone, say something really ignorant online or whatever, and I've turned that into content that hopefully everyone can learn from, rather than getting into a fight online, right? But what I've noticed when I do that sometimes is that even in the fact that I'm not going to mention the person's name on my page, and this has happened multiple times, you guys, multiple times, and it astounds me every time. Even when I say like, hey, I noticed this happen today, and I won't put any names here, but I noticed this, and this happened, and here's what I think about it, and here's what I feel about it, or like, how do you guys feel about it? Because I thought that looked pretty wrong to me. That looked pretty dangerous, or that looked like a really unhealthy belief. What do you guys think? And so many times when I do that, even though, like, I can think of 3 off the top of my head, so many times when I do that, even though I have not called out the person in question, because I have no desire to embarrass them, because really my desire is to examine our underlying patterns. It's not about like trying to call out the competition or trying to put other people down. I'm really looking for everyone to gain more and more awareness of their patterns when I do this, and to examine those underlying beliefs that might cause someone to go this way, and to try and, in whatever way that I can do my best at to redirect it or shed light on it in a way that feels healthy. But in 3 separate instances that I can think of, and probably more, but 3 that I can name off the top of my head, I've had people seek out those posts that I've made about the thing that I did, even though I didn't mention their name, and they'll get into an argument on the post with me and start like defending their behavior and talking about what a bitch I am for drawing attention to it or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I didn't, like, nobody would have known it was you if you just hadn't said anything, like nobody, I wasn't saying this, this wasn't about you at all, right? This was me just like making a post about a thing that I saw, and you happen to be the person who I saw do it, but in so many instances I've kept it so vague that really nobody on my own platform, on my own page, even knew what I was talking about. And there's this compulsion in people where they're like, I need to be right so much that I need to come onto your page and come onto this post that you wrote about me being wrong, even though you didn't write about me, and I have to defend the thing that I was doing, even though that means exposing myself to all of your platform, who now knows that I did this problematic thing that you're talking about, even though your audience is probably already more sympathetic to you because they already follow you than me, a stranger. And I'm just gonna kind of, make a fool of myself in your comment section, defending this thing that most other people on this page are already agreeing is not a good idea. Now that doesn't mean that I'm right all the time, or that my approach to something is right for everyone. So maybe there is something that I've called out, and maybe someone says, yeah, I recognize that that's a potential pitfall with my behavior, but honestly, I think that my doing things this way actually helps me attract the people who have the beliefs that I do, and so my work is not right for everyone. So if you don't align with it, that's fine. But I've got my audience over here, and I'm just fine. And I've rarely ever even seen them do that. So there's this folly about wanting to be right so much that they dig their heels in and they defend their stance even when it makes them kind of look bad, right? So I've noticed this happen a lot, and I've changed my own relationship to being right about things as a result of some of these observations, right? So if I and granted, there's no like objective right and wrong, right? We can look at, there's certainly different energetic signatures to things that make, certainly it's like, we can say that there's no, objective no such thing as an objective sense of right and wrong, but we can also say that there's like a big difference between, Marianne Williamson and Adolf Hitler, right? Like we can say that there are degrees of rightness and wrongness, even though they are subjective concepts, but we can all agree that there are some patterns there. And really what we want to do is we want to look at the patterns that are helpful to evolving our society, that are helpful to our own sovereignty and our own work, and helpful to elevating and uplifting other people, right? So essentially, if that's the thing that we're kind of judging things by, that's at least the paradigm that I'm going with in terms of things being either more right or more wrong. So, but again, that's my subjective perspective on that. So essentially, instead of, again, if this was a matrix logic puzzle that I was doing, and I figured out that I had marked a square with the wrong thing because I had made a logical error, in my calculations, I would really have no problem with my ego with going and just erasing it and changing my answer. So I really started to examine my own relationship to right and wrong, because in watching other people really persist down this path where they want to be right so badly that they're so afraid of being wrong publicly that they start to defend their behavior in ways that really isn't serving them, and that kind of makes them in many ways look foolish in front of a public audience, and especially getting heated about it, or getting bitter, or or attacking. And not everyone does that, but a lot of people do, or they'll come onto the post and they'll say something really nasty, and then they'll flounce and they'll block me or whatever. I even had one person who I had already blocked stalk my profile from an alternate username and make this long ass rant on my post that didn't even say their name in it, because they were so upset about the fact that that I had called them out for white privilege, for denying their own white privilege or whatever, So anyway, it's just really interesting to me that people will follow that. I've now seen that 3 times, that people will follow along that path, and they'll just dig their heels in, rather than just, stepping back and saying like, well, what is white privilege? Is this thing that I said, wow, this thing that I said has kind of riled up multiple people on my own post. Should I listen to these like 10 to 12 people who are all saying that I'm being ignorant in my use of this phrase or what have you? Then instead of doing that, they dig in and they want to be right. And no one loves being right more than me. No one loves being right more than me. I love being right so much. Like I said, I feel that real satisfaction when I synthesize pieces of information together and I land on something that resonates and that hits, and I'm like, yes, that's the thing, I'm right about this. I love, if you guys read my posts on Facebook, like I write these long posts because I'll be thinking about things so much, and I'll come up with something that feels like the truth, that feels like, at least like truth for me, something that is solid, that feels like it resonates, that it feels congruent with my experience of reality, and I want to put it out there, right? But I like that experience so much that I'm now unwilling to remain in a space that's incongruent, right? So if I have a whole bunch of people calling me out or attacking me on something that I did, I've distanced myself from that egoic response that says like, hey, you might be wrong about this, and me being like, what? I'm not wrong. I love being right, And I've learned to actually like think of it like filling in that square on the matrix logic puzzle and thinking, do I actually have misinformation here? Let me sit and listen for a second, because I love being right. And if being right actually means that I have to change my opinion, then I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong, because the second that I admit that I'm wrong, then I'm right again, right? Because I've just reattuned that. I've just said like, okay, I was wrong about that, and now that I've immediately spoken that into, I've spoken that into the ether, now I'm right again, because now I'm on the right side. I'm on the congruent side. I'm on the side of progress and of empowerment and being able to see and discern things in an accurate manner, at least as accurate a manner as possible. Recently, just in this past week, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, hey, I need you to know that there's some stuff going around about someone that you are friends with, and they didn't really like say what they expected me to do about it. And I was like, ooh, there was part of me that was like, I wish I did not know this. This sucks. But I'm really unwilling to be, I love being right so much that I'm unwilling to be wrong in that regard. So I wrote them back and I said, wow, thank you so much for sending that to me. I'm unsure how to proceed. I'm going to keep my ear open for more and more facts and evidence, or at least more and more accounts and stories from different people that all seem to add up to the same picture. I'm going to decide what is the healthiest course of action. This person is a friend of mine. They've been very kind to me personally, although I understand that their kindness to me does not mean that that was everyone's universal experience with them. But if they've been kind to me, then maybe I can maintain a friendship with them that allows me to be a good influence on them and to let them know when their behavior is actually hurting other people. Because again, I've said this before, there's a video I have that you can look up that says, if loving someone doesn't mean, if you love someone, you don't allow them to, you don't enable their, if you love someone, you don't enable their harmful behavior. Loving someone doesn't mean just shutting up and being compliant. It actually means helping them to be the best that they can be. And if there's a whole bunch of people going around saying that they've had bad experiences with someone, and that person is my friend, then if I'm going to be a good friend to them, I'm going to try and sit down and see if I can work that out and help help there be some healing or some movement. It's possible sometimes that I'm too close to the situation. I'm not right for that. But either way, I'm going to stay present. I'm really going to try and do the right thing. I'm not going to be like, what? No, that person's my friend and I'm a survivor of sexual assault and abuse. So if they're my friend, they couldn't possibly have done that to someone, right? I'm not going to do that because, again, I like being right too much to risk being wrong in that capacity. If I'm wrong about something, I want to know. I want to know so I can reattune myself and then be right again. So I really invite you to look at all the places where you have that inkling at first that you might be wrong about something, and instead of immediately going into that defensive mode and letting your ego kick in and say no, I'm definitely not wrong about this, I invite you to sit with that and say wow, if I was just entering into this situation with all of this information, what would be the right thing to do? What would be what's right when I really sit with everything that I'm being presented with? Some of the people who came on to the post that I ended up making about their, anonymously about what was going on was sometimes they were even admitting they were wrong, but they were like, well, I hope you never make a fucking mistake, and whatever. And I'm like, dude, I didn't even name your name. If I were you, I would have just shut up and been grateful that no one outed me for it. Sometimes I'll read a post about, maybe it's something that I'm already doing. I think one of the reasons that I've been pretty good about, I should say, one of the reasons that I felt pretty congruent about supporting racial equality is I've learned from a lot of other people's mistakes, and I've listened to a lot of people when other white folks have made really shitty mistakes, and I've learned from them, and I've been able to be like, wow, thank goodness that wasn't me, but what can I learn from this so I don't make that mistake either? So if you do see a post that's about something that you're doing, and it doesn't name you and it doesn't call you out, I invite you to be like, well, I dodged a bullet with that one. I'm glad that I get to quietly do a learn so that I don't get called out and I don't get my name, associated, anchored to this one mistake that I've made in the past. I'm really glad that I get to preemptively apologize for my actions, right? There's this great performance art space out in Brooklyn. I'm from New York, and I used to I've done performances there, and I've attended performances there called the House of Yes, and they were recently called out by a person of South Asian descent who is a practicing Hindu, and who practiced Hinduism. Am I saying that right? If I'm wrong, call me out nicely. I'll change it. I don't mind being wrong. Hindi. Oh gosh. I feel terrible for not having that be easily off the tip of my tongue, but now I'll go and look it up so I don't make that mistake again in the future. Because I'm not afraid to make a mistake and be wrong if it means that I can correct it and be right. But at any rate, a person who practiced Hinduism contacted them because they had all these paintings of Hindu gods in their bathroom. And this person was like, this is really disrespectful. Like, these are our deities, and cleanliness in the Hindu tradition is really important. So the fact that you would have images of our gods in a place where people are doing their business is really like, wow, that is really not congruent, and it's really disrespectful to people who actually practice this religion. And they were met with a response very quickly from the person who made that creative decision to paint the bathroom that way. And she said, wow, hey, I made that decision and I own my responsibility from it. It was from a place of ignorance, and I'm so grateful for the fact that you educated me on it, and I feel terrible that anyone like you or with your background had to experience that. And we're going to correct this as quickly as possible. And it's never fun to be wrong, but it's so much better to respond to where you're being shown you're wrong with maturity and with a desire to change, because we want to get past this like cancellation culture, where one mistake doesn't mean that someone is completely irredeemable. And the more that we are able to start turning around our mistakes, the more we're going to help enforce that pattern in society, that people actually can turn things around and can be better and can hopefully make up for the mistakes that they've made in the past. So immediately, they're going to change they've already promised to change the decor on this bathroom, and they've made a public apology where that's concerned. And that's cool. That's so much better than like digging your heels in and being like, well, fuck you. Not everybody who uses this bathroom feels that way, or whatever. Like that would just, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. People are really invested in being right, and I want us to all take our investment in being right and repattern that so that we can actually move forward and change our behavior when it's called upon, and when we see the ways that it's actually not working for us or for others, or all of the above, rather than just digging our heels in. I'd like us to be right as a way. I'd like us to take our enjoyment of being right and cause that, and have that cause us to address our mistakes from a place of integrity, rather than dig our heels in and keep on wanting to live in the illusion that we're right when maybe we're not. Hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. And if I'm ever wrong about something, I invite you to inform me of that. Please do it nicely. I'm doing my best, just like all of us out here. We're in a time of intense learning and intense unlearning and repatterning, and all of us could use patience and compassion, but that also doesn't mean that we want to or need to be enabled, right? We can have patience and compassion for someone and also point them in the right direction rather than enable what they've been doing. So thank you again for watching. Hope this is helpful. I'll see you next time.